I came believing in love, but I was resisting to the relative world. I thought either love exists or it doesn't. So when I was almost murdered, I felt like I have to stay and prove to this man that love exists, because I needed to prove it to myself as well.
Prem has served individuals and groups around the world for 52 years. Prem blends both Eastern and Western traditions that really build this foundation for living with confidence and inspiration.
It takes a lot of energy to deny reality. We're conditioned that this is the way life is, this is the way it should be, and then we try to make everything fit our conditioned upbringing. And we're trapped. People get depressed when they're not living aligned with their true nature. But it frees up our energy to create rather than cope. I traveled 2 years without any money in my pocket. I didn't freak out. I just thought, something will come tomorrow and I'll have a place to sleep. And that's how I lived, with total trust in the divine, walking with me day after day after day.
If love could speak through you in this moment, what would love say?
There is no wrong. It's all evolution. Drop all self-judgment.
Welcome to Walking the Path of Love podcast. This is a space for honest conversation about what it really means to lead and live and move through the world from a place of love. I'm your host, Anandame Charlyn Ryman, and we're really honored today to have Prem Shakti as our guest. As we enter this space of togetherness, I just want to remind everyone that this is a place where we can really slow down, listen deeply, and explore love, not just as an idea, but as a practice, a devotion, a lived path that we choose again and again. So, Prem, it is such an honor to have you with us today. When I think of people within our lineage that really have touched my heart and set an example, you are certainly one of those people. And one of the things that I love about you is your strength and your softness, and just the way that you live love, sometimes so fiercely and sometimes so softly. So I am really grateful for you and for knowing you. Prem has served individuals and groups around the world for 52 years. Prem blends both Eastern and Western traditions that really build this foundation for living with confidence and inspiration and soul alignment. In 1973, Prem came to Sumneytown and was one of the first residents in the ashram there, the Kripalu Ashram in Sumneytown, Pennsylvania. And she helped start the first offerings of inviting the public in for different events. And it grew, of course, as we know, into many, many different programs that have been offered so many times. So you were right there at the beginning, which is so awesome. And then you also helped to open up the ashram in Summit Station as the group outgrew Sumneytown. And when Swami Kripalu came to the United States, you were one of a group that welcomed him and got everything ready for him and practiced with Swami Kripalu and served Babaji warm milk and learned directly from him, which is so heartwarming. Prem's trained thousands of bodyworkers, yoga teachers, meditators around the world, as I said, and to really, I love this part, to source and share their love and wisdom with others. Before we start, Prem has agreed to offer a centering for us, a little centering meditation. So Prem, welcome, and thank you for starting off and guiding us.
It's a joy to be here, and thank you for such a lovely welcome. So let us all close our eyes for a moment and adjust your body to be more comfortable wherever you're seated. And simply notice, we're taking a sacred pause to meet the moment without a judging mind, but to meet the moment with compassion for our very human experience, dancing with our own divinity. So as you sit, let's just do a quick body scan letting your attention float from the crown of your head down across your face. And imagine a wave of deep relaxation and deep healing energy flowing from the surface of the skin down through and deeper into the brain and the tissues of memories, the essence of your being present behind and within all that you experience. So let this light travel down your face, your neck, your shoulders, like a stream of healing energy off your fingertips, down your shoulders, upper back, mid back, low back, and into the hips that support your movement in your life, your legs, your joints, all the way down to your ankles, the arches, the little toes, and down through into the earth, light from above descending through and into the earth, offering up any worries or concerns of your mind or heart. And as you inhale, breathe in from Mother Earth, her support, her strength. Let energy rise to meet the descending energy in your heart. And open your heart to yourself with deep compassion, with deep forgiveness, with love and curiosity of what is yet to come in your life, guided by the depths of your true being. Om.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for that. So, I would love to begin our conversation with a focus on your direct experience with Swami Kripalu. Can you talk about your experience either in a general way or maybe sharing a specific story that you might remember and want to share with us?
Oh my. Well, sitting with him in darshans, in gatherings, to be in this presence of a man that committed his whole life to God consciousness and self realization was like entering a different realm where all the worries of the mind dropped away, all self judgments dropped away. And I felt like I was a child in pure innocence of my child nature, untouched by the world. And so I actually missed some of the things he would say because I'd fall into deep meditation and just sit with my grandpa, my spiritual grandpa, and then the distance between us would dissolve. And there was nothing but love. He wanted his own direct experience. So he wasn't teaching us what to do and not do as much as sharing from his life stories. And he taught to seek truth for ourselves. He wasn't one to say, follow me, because he led the most unique life. Most of us are householders. Very few take commitments to put everything aside just for God realization. But his presence influenced me so much that I wanted to follow him. And he taught that our paths are unique to us. Even if we share a teacher, how you walk your path is unique to you, and to honor your own individuality, really. Just sitting with him, I felt like a child, an innocent, pure child, and to be with him at different times, you know, making milk for him in the evening and doing little things. I was very close to Amit Desai's wife, so she would invite me over to prepare things for him sometimes, and it was just a place to pour love. And that's who he was. He was a man of love. And I was blessed with the name Prem Shakti, and Prem means God's love or unconditional love. And I just felt so connected to Kripalu when that name came to me.
Oh, yeah. It was so beautiful. Yeah, I didn't talk about that in the introduction, but maybe could you talk about that a little bit? Just the Prem and the Shakti and how that's guided your life.
When I first saw Amit Desai at a yoga conference, I said, you'll never see me following somebody like him dressed like that in white. And he was giving he was giving little talks, and I didn't go be with him. But I went to another Swami who was giving, there were all these Swamis, and he gave me the name. I walked away with the name Mirabai. And so I came to the ashram as Mirabai, who
Oh.
was a saint in India, I think in the 1500s. And then when I was at Kripalu, he said, well, those who want to go deeper, I will give you a new name. And he gave me Prem Shakti. And the Shakti is the feminine creative power. And I let that name blossom in me. I love that other name, but this name was an energy field that I wanted to walk into and embody. So I feel blessed that I live with unconditional love as a source of guidance for me. And the Shakti, the creative power, who knows what's going to be
beautiful.
next.
Yeah. Can you talk more about that? Like this faith and trust? Like, so you lived in Chicago, you were probably going to be a secretary and get married, and then you end up as a renunciate traveling the world. Like, it seems to me that there had to be a lot of faith and trust. Can you talk about that? Like just how your life was guided? Because it wasn't like you sat down, when you were 20 and said, this is going to be my life. And then you did it. You were guided step by step. And how did you have that faith to just trust?
So I first heard about yoga when I was living in London. I joined some musicians busking in the underground metro systems and singing on the street corners for our food. And one of them took us down to Brighton to meet a rishi. And he introduced me to awareness that there's something more in the world than what you see through these eyes. And then when the one musician almost murdered me, and I said, I came believing in love, but I was resisting to the relative world. I thought either love exists or it doesn't. So when I was almost murdered, I felt like I have to stay and prove to this man that love exists because I needed to prove it to myself as well. Wow. So I lived with him for another period of time and realized he was never going to let me go to America. So I had to make an escape. And when I came to America, I met somebody who told me about this yoga retreat and went there. And eventually I had, in my first yoga class, a Shaktipat awakening. So I didn't really know about yoga, but the first class I took, I was studying Sanskrit at Ananda Ashram in Monroe, New York. And I had a yoga class. And when I came out of the shoulder stand, everybody was gone. The class had dispersed who knows when. And I was in a state of love. And I went running through the fields. The class was outside, crying and feeling like God is in everything. I'm walking on God. I'm breathing God. God's above, God's below, God surrounds me. And then I realized after it, so I wasn't looking for God. I wasn't looking for yoga. It sort of happened to me. And my life has been graced over and over again. So rather than being willful, my path has been pretty steadily a path of surrender. I've been taken in a way.
Surrender.
Yes. So when I said I need to find out about yoga, who led that yoga class? It was a disciple of Amit Desai's. And I said, well, I guess I need to go find out what yoga is about. I wasn't looking for a teacher. I wanted to know about this divine experience because after 2 weeks, I started coming out of it a little. And the bliss was sort of being shadowed by the world. So I went to Kripalu, and the
Yeah.
very first weekend I had more Shakti experiences, and I never left because Shakti claimed me. And
Oh.
at that time, we weren't doing programs. It was just going into yoga, opening our field of energy that bypasses the mind and its constrictions, and being flooded with life force that would move our body spontaneously. If you had back problems, it would move the body into postures without you thinking about it to relieve and bring energy, healing blood flow, nutrition to the muscles that had been cramped up. So yoga initially was spontaneous response to the body's needs instead of directed by the mind. And the ashram began, Kripalu began as a community of people who got high on these explosive energy experiences of love and spontaneous movements and dancing and singing and blissful experiences that bypassed the mind and emotions, but also purified them. Does that answer your question a little?
Yes, yes. How important do you think it was to be going through those experiences in community?
So important. It wasn't until when I came to Florida. So there's a place for community and a place for individuality. Individuality has to be born. I was a twin and thought you're always supposed to be tight with another. And I resisted individuality. I was looking for a twin in a partner. I was looking to think and do the same things, no individuality. And in the ashram, I said yes to everything. So there was no my expression. They said, well, we want you to start teaching programs. We're going to have people coming. So sit on your hands when we hold meditations. Don't go into these spontaneous love movements or chanting spontaneously. Contain the energy, hold, be strong. Don't go into surrender practice. And so we started having people come. Then they said, let's do a program. So we had to find a place to do a program. And there was more containing the energy and building the nervous system to hold the energy. But when I didn't understand, when I opened my own yoga center, I was leading an old resident and a new friend who I met doing the headstand on the beach in Florida. I thought, oh, he's an old yogi. So I was leading the two of them in some breathing, some pranayam. And he had an energy awakening that moved through his spine, and his kundalini awakened and damaged his nervous system so much that he couldn't work for 6 months. And I had to take him to the hospital that night because he was in so much pain. And no medicine, drugs could alleviate the pain. So I learned very quickly, you have to strengthen your nervous system for more energy. And the pranayam, the alternate nostril breathing, was the strongest, beautiful practice that Babaji could have ever taught. He said, above everything else you do alternate nostril breathing to balance the right and left hemispheres of the brain.
Nostril breathing.
So that when they're balanced, your energy can move through the central channel and find unity instead of separation.
Oh, that's beautiful. No, that was perfect. Because to me, that personal practice is so important, and we're going to talk about that in a minute and how that changes. And I think it's so important to have that connection with other people that are on the path. It's this individual practice where we're strengthening our container. We're listening to our heart. We're listening to our body. We're, tapping into consciousness and feeling that prana and all of those things, and doing that individually and then doing that as a group. And I think both parts are so important.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to say anything more about that, but thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Community is vital, especially in the world now. We need to be with like-minded spirits and truth seekers and practitioners of whatever your interest is in, it's so helpful when we gather together. It's not just your energy, but there's a group energy that forwards you in the direction of your choice. Often,
Yes.
what we've seen from different teachers, gurus, there's a lifting up of the teacher and forgetting to see the humanity of that person as well. And we're both human and divine. So community
Yes.
is a place. Alone, people can get depressed, can get distracted from their practices that make them feel better or aligned with what's true to them. When we get together, there's a group energy that builds and lifts you up. But if you identify yourself so much with the group that you depend on it, then you've lost yourself as the source. And the source is within each of us. And the expression of that is unique to each of us. And so when I was in the ashram, once a year I would visit my parents for Christmas and then come back to the ashram. And one year I was flying back and I heard this big booming voice inside that I'd never heard before that said, live a year with no obligation in the ashram, in this spiritual community. And I said, that won't work. Nobody would go with that. And it said 4 months minimum. And I said, okay. And I was in this airplane crying.
You're bargaining with it.
Yes. But initially I was just weeping because I'd never heard a voice and I never was woo-woo like that, but it happened. So I went back to Kripalu and said to the administrators who are my old buddies for, 18 years or something like that, I said, I need to live a year with no obligation. I might just be cleaning toilets or have open door counseling, but I'm not committed to leading month-long programs. I'm not there's no commitment, but to spirit moment to moment. And they tried to, they said, do you want a relationship instead of being a renunciate? Do you want to move to the other ashram, go back to Sumneytown? What's wrong? What can we do? And I was like, I'm happy. I didn't ask for this. It was downloaded and I can't argue. So they said, well, if that's what you need.
I didn't ask for this.
I didn't. And that's like the Shakti experience with the first class. I had no idea that yoga could open up a field of consciousness that you see the whole world differently. I had no idea. So my life has been full of grace. Instead of most people need a steady path. My path is, I've sort of been taken. And so I left the ashram. They said, if you need 4 months, take a year. And Amra was invited to teach in Iceland. And he said, you want to fly with me to Iceland? And I said, okay. So that's how I began my separation from Kripalu as a resident. And I traveled 2 years without any money in my pocket, sometimes not knowing I was going to fly to Belgium. And that night I got a call saying, we have a family emergency. You can't come. And I thought, I didn't freak out. I just thought something will come tomorrow and I'll have a place to sleep. And that's how I lived, with total trust in the divine, walking with me day after day after day. And then I came to Florida. People kept inviting me to Florida. Somebody offered me money to open a yoga center. Somebody else, after meeting me, fell in love. 1 week after meeting, he wanted to marry me. I said, no, you don't understand. I wear orange. But then years later, well, not years, I don't know, maybe 9 months later, I was meditating and I heard, live free of form. You're a renunciate. Be a renunciate. Don't be attached to form. Be true to your spirit, no matter what the form. So I shed the orange and I became a householder. And then people gave me money to open the yoga center and started teaching here in Florida. That's a long-winded story to some question that I've forgotten. But to trust.
That
to
was thank
trust
you. Thank you for sharing all of that. The trust. Yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
listen
each of those
inside,
things just
because
comes like you're in this river of love. Yeah.
community is important, but it's not
Mm,
everything. Your individuality, like as a twin,
right.
I was a we until sent to college. We were we. I never used the word I. It was our
Mm,
stuff, our friends, our. And
oh,
then in the ashram, I sort of surrendered up,
mm,
my will be done, thy will be done. And so again, I did whatever was asked. And then when I heard this voice saying, live a year with no obligation, and Kripalu said, no, after I left, then Yogananda and others could do their sadhana there without doing other work. But I was the one that
mm,
had to leave. And it was a
yeah.
blessing. It was a blessing in
Yeah.
disguise. Everything is a blessing in disguise if you open to see beyond
Mhm.
what your attachments are, or even
Yeah.
your values in some way. The true values hold strong, but your ideas of the value of this or
Mhm, mhm.
that may be shaken too. Our true nature is
Mhm,
unshaken.
mhm. Something that you said, just to go back to the individual and then the group, the one thing that I find, and I'm just curious if this is something you've noticed too, is, our lineage is so filled with these teaching stories. There's books and books that people have
Mhm.
written on Swami Kripalu's teaching stories. And years ago, as I was reading some of these stories, I would think, oh, I know what that story means. Like, I know the message,
Mm.
right? And then when I started teaching more and more from these stories, and I would tell the story and then have the group maybe journal or do some co-listening and then share what what the story meant to them. I was blown away because it meant something different to different people in the room. And that was like
Yes.
this huge like aha moment for me around our lineage and how it's not prescriptive, right? It's not like you need to do these 10 things. It's, hear these stories, and if now when I read the stories at different times in my life, they mean something different. And to me, that is also part of community, because when I was listening to what these stories meant to different people, it resonated something in me too that I might not have noticed if I wasn't in community and having these discussions. And it really opened me up to more curiosity. You used that word early on, and I think that
Yes.
that curiosity within our lineage is so important. And just discussions. I would have conversations with one of my teachers. I would have these questions, and he would not give me the answer. He would say, "Go talk to people," and he might even give me names of who to talk to. Go talk to this person. This. He probably gave me your name at one point, but he would say, go talk to them and see. And so it wasn't giving that answer. It was like talk to like-minded people, talk to people that have
Mhm.
the same sense of love in their hearts, and you'll find some of these answers. And it likely is not going to be the same answer as the other people that you talk to, but it's going to open something up in you to know, right? To
Yes.
know the truth. Can you talk about that, Satya? And truth. And just like, I know we had talked at one point and you said that, how freeing truth is. And I think there's
Mm.
times when we feel like, oh, if someone knows this truth, or if I face this truth, blah, 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 is going to happen. And in reality, when we get to that point of facing the truth or speaking our truth, it's so freeing. And can you
Mhm.
talk about that or give an example in your life, just like the freedom of truth?
So it takes a lot of energy to deny reality.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
feel safe. We grow up and we're conditioned that this is the way life is, this is the way it should be. And then we try to make everything fit our conditioned upbringing. And we're trapped in the conditions of our lineage, of our parents, there's of our families, of our heritage. I'm Scottish, they have a certain way to look at the world. When
Mhm.
we seek freedom or want to know the truth, really, it's a scary It's a scary process because what feels grounded then starts getting shaken. And the foundation that you stood on one day, like I thought I was going to spend my whole life at Kripalu. And then when I found out they said take a year's leave of absence, it was like, what? And then the truth of live free for a year with no obligation was stronger than my conditioning that it had to be a certain way in Kripalu in that frame. And so when we seek truth, it does shake us up. Our conditioning that has guided our life, we can go back and say, no, I don't want the truth. Or I'll pretend that it's okay. I'll make do. This is fine. But truth is an energy that when you choose it, it takes a lot of energy to suppress. People get depressed when they're not living aligned with their true nature or with what's happening in a relationship. Oh, I'll make do. It'll be okay. And then 20 or 30 or 40 years later, we're getting divorced. So living in truth takes courage. And to me, doing breathing is directly linked to the nervous system that can handle and support moving forward out of the conditioned ways we've grown up with. And truth has different layers, different. What's true one day may not be the absolute truth. It's the truth of what you need in that moment, but that your needs may change as you evolve. So, I needed to be almost murdered in London to wake up to love is not enough. Love is not the answer to everything. There's a relative world and there's a divine world. Living in the divine world, denying the dark side is not going to work in your life. You have to admit that there's the dark side. And I would fought it. I stayed with that man for a month, wanting to prove to him that he was still loved. Love matters. It's like, no, I had to make an escape from my life and run away. So there's different stages of walking with truth. And our nervous system, if we're, like the truth of my other partner that I joined with in Florida, when he had the Shakti experience, his nervous system couldn't handle all that volume of truth and energy. He wanted to quit his job and start giving satsangs, teach, and not work. And I just left the ashram and he was like, you need to get a job for both of us and carry both of us. I'm like, I don't know how to be in the world yet. I need both of us in the world. So the Shakti, this divine energy, needs a strong nervous system, and truth will be revealed as hopefully as much as we can receive it. I've met people who've been downloaded with a lot of truth and the Shakti or Kundalini upset their nervous system and they still wear a neck brace, or they were put in, they didn't have a yogic understanding and were put in a mental hospital because they didn't have the frame of how to deal with seeing the world differently than is constricted by most people's belief systems. Living unbound and free, for me, means living in the moment, meeting the moment, and not caring what I think should be happening, dropping what was, dropping my ideas of futurizing and what should be, or carrying the pain of the past, projecting that in the future. Living here and now takes courage to see reality as it is, because it might not fit the box you want it to fit in, but it frees up our energy to create rather than cope. We are creative beings.
Create rather than cope. Yeah.
I've never put those two together before. I like that.
Infinite possibilities, right? Infinite possibilities. Yes. I love that. Infinite possibilities. And, with those infinite possibilities, what word was coming to me when you were talking is discernment. There's this element of discernment. It's not just
Yes.
everything that comes across your path. It's discerning. And I always think about discerning as like listening to my heart or like listening and pausing. But what does
Mhm.
discernment mean to you?
Discernment to me means if I'm in the moment, I'm open to what arises. And what arises might be emotions. If I add stories to the emotions, like that person, da 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 da, da, and they're trying to da 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 to me, then I've just lost discernment. I've gone into mental story land and there's no reality. It's just,
Mhm.
there might be some reality, but it's in my mind. And if I have discernment in
Mhm.
my sadhana, I let the emotions come up. Those thoughts might come up. I don't believe them. I let them pass. And then there's just pure emotion that has no story to it. It might just be crying
Mhm.
in grief of loss. It didn't mean
Mhm.
they did something
Mhm.
and they deserve dying or that I did something and I deserve them going. It's just pure emotion.
Mhm.
And so there's discernment then of if there's a lesson to be learned, it arrives out of a clear space after the emotion is cleared. If the emotion engages with the mind,
Mhm.
then you've got mind and muck. It carries on and on.
Yeah.
But if the emotion is just pure without trying to understand or figure things out or analyze and think, what did they do and what should I do? But you're just in a state of surrender to, I'm grieving. And then
Mhm.
it will end. And the nervous system may not be able to take, like if
Mhm.
there's a serious beloved that dies, your grief might last a while. And the nervous
Mhm.
system isn't strong enough to do it all
Mhm.
at one sitting. No, like Babaji actually timed his
Mhm.
sadhana.
Mhm.
He had a stopwatch and when he closed his eyes to leave this world and meditate, he had a timer saying, I'm coming back then because he knew he could go, go,
Mhm.
go. And the nervous system would have a hard time coming back from that point. So with that
Yeah.
man that I first
Mhm.
fell in love with in Florida, he had, and I led him in a breathing exercise, he had a Kundalini awakening of divine energy, but his nervous system wasn't prepared for that volume of energy. And so it went mucky.
Mhm. Mhm.
Again, I've spoken
Not
a lot.
good.
I don't remember the
What
question.
it's fine. I don't remember either. We don't need to it's okay. I'm curious about how your personal practice has changed over the years. Like, what does your personal
Mhm.
practice look like now, and how
Mhm.
has that shifted over the years? Sometimes when I talk to people, they want to figure out a practice. Like, what is the ideal
Mhm.
practice? Like, what should I be doing? And I think it's such a personal thing, and I'm always curious about other people's practices on our path. So I would love if you could share like what your practice looks like now and how that's changed and how do you know when to change your practice? What does that look like?
It does change, but some things are pretty steadfast. Like the practice not to
Okay.
fight reality is a practice
Mhm.
that conserves your energy so you can keep deepening. Um, so don't push to make life a certain way. Don't don't fight what is. Meet life and allow your curiosity and creativity to respond to life. So how does the practice change and what's stable?
Mhm.
For me, my practice started from that spontaneous first yoga class. So I had a surrender practice. And in the early days of the ashram, Amrit would lead some music and we'd all start manifesting, crying, laughing. The nervous system would start purifying on its own. And then when we said after a year or two, let's invite people in to join, we had to sit on our hands and control our energy and not surrender to it. So because that would freak people out to see people dancing and, it was a little far out. So we learned to contain too much. We learned to contain the energy. However, I didn't. And so in my personal practice, this is a little story. I had whiplash. I was driving a car 5 miles an hour. It was the ashram car, and a truck bumped me. And for 2 weeks, I couldn't lift my head up. I had whiplash. And I had to go to a chiropractor, which everybody was going to chiropractors. And I was like, I'm taking care of myself. I don't need to do that. But I needed to, so I went. And I said, this is my body. I'm watching what you do. And he was a network chiropractor, and he just did a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And he just did a little bit. And that little bit moved my Shakti, my energy again. And I only slept 2 or 3 hours a night for the next month or two. And I'd wake up spontaneously in postures I'd never seen. So my willful practice, I didn't do any willful practice. If I was, when we started having jobs in the ashram and we weren't commuting to work, I'd be working and my boss would come in and say, oh, you need to do this. And I might have an emotional reaction, but I didn't know, I wasn't in touch with my emotions. I just felt all this energy. And I'd run out to the field and roll around and let the energy flow and get clear and balance and go back to my typesetting. Finally, somebody saw me doing that. And she said, you need to stop surrendering to this energy and start a willful practice. So most people did willful practices to build their energy so they could have energy to surrender to. I was the opposite. I had to start learning willful practices to direct my mind and contain the energy rather than let it go. So having a place to go to learn basics is important. As you develop, finding out your uniqueness, like me realizing I'm more than a twin, I'm an individual. I'm more than a renunciate. I have wants and desires myself that I need to claim. I have a body that's my body. So we're all individual, but we need guidance and a place to start. And as you evolve, it's helpful to have personal guidance because our practices and our evolution of our consciousness changes and our bodies change as we age. So what worked one year may not work again another year, or you've had knee surgeries or hip surgeries. But the practice of attuning, breathing, surrendering, and non-judgmental awareness all are pretty steady. It's helpful to have a teacher. And sometimes those teachers change as you evolve, because the teacher might say, this is it, keep doing this. But you might outgrow it and need the next teacher. Not throwing away the first, giving honor to the first, but we can continue to evolve. And our evolution, I'm always evolving.
So as we bring our time together to a close, I would love to have you share your offerings. Like, how can listeners connect with you? You talk about, having a teacher and having someone that can help with guidance. And I know that you provide amazing mentorship and offerings. Can you share some of those offerings that you provide as part of your service? And then we'll put in the show notes how people can contact you and get in touch.
Well, I work individually with people, mostly on Zoom since COVID happened. If people are passing through, like 3 weeks ago, somebody I met teaching in Arizona in 85, flew in to be with her mother who was passing, and we did some sessions together. I forgot all about her, and she found me on Facebook. So I do one-on-one work with people on Zoom and in person. And that private work I call clearing your path. And it's integrating sadhana, your personal practice on the mat, but also more often off the mat, of how to deal with the challenges that you meet with as much clarity, as much ease, as much creativity as your consciousness allows. And rather than giving answers, I know everybody has their own inner answers to find and follow. So I'm a source of a mentor to ask questions to guide you to your own wisdom and move forward with compassion for the human experience that we all go through. So one-on-one work is one thing that I offer. And then I've offered satsangs for years and years, and I'm starting up satsangs again, which will be on Zoom. I had been doing them in my home for years, and then again, COVID started, so we were doing on Zoom. I've had a little break, but they're going to be in the evenings, 1 hour a week. And so if somebody's interested in getting some inspiration, being in a community where we all have a little time to share, being respected for where we are in our lives and our evolution, and being able to ask questions, find your own solutions, and be inspired to make a difference in the world, because the world needs us all. Yeah. So there's satsangs, there's individual work. And then I have a program called Standing Strong and True to You, which is a small group that I'm going to be offering in another month or two, using the chakra system to claim your life and build your life for you, rather than following what everybody's doing or making nice and getting by with things, but to find your own power to stand up, your voice to speak honestly and truthfully, to get in touch with yourself. Some of us just get so busy, we get into habits. And as we age, it's time to look, reevaluate, and claim, this is my life to live for me. What do I want? What do I need? Not out there. Let's work together and find, how can I serve maybe just myself now that is an inspiration to others? So Standing Strong and True to You is coming. Those are the three primary things. One-on-one work.
That's
satsangs,
amazing.
and group work. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And we will put some information again in the show notes that people can reach out and contact you, because there's so much to offer. I have one final question for you. So if love could speak through you in this moment, what would love say?
Oh my. Oh. The first thing that comes is, there is no wrong. It's all evolution. Drop all self-judgment. What else? Love yourself first. It's a gift to love others. But if your focus is solely on others, the richness of that love is missing the element of your own self-healing and love. Stay attuned to yourself as you give to others. Start with yourself first.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prem, for your voice, your presence, your heart, your wisdom. Before we end, let's cup our hands together. So just like you're having a little cup in front of you. And Prem, I hope you feel all of our love and gratitude pouring into your cup. And for all those listening, maybe just close eyes for a minute and just imagine and notice all the wisdom and the guidance that we've received today from Prem. Any little notes that you want to remember, just allow those experiences, those heartfelt nudges to pour into your hands. And let's add some deep gratitude to our cupping of the hands. Then let's slowly close the hands, just letting the thumbs touch, tilting the thumbs towards our heart, letting them come towards the heart, just allowing all of that to melt into your heart, into your being. Swami Kripalu said that all knowledge, all experiences stay with us forever. And may this experience that we've had today become part of our heart, part of who we are, part of how we step forward into this world as we are guided on this path of love. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Jai
so
Bhagwan.
much.